I've recently finished digging out another pond. I have a lot of people contact me, and often they are excavating the pond with no shelves, or they don't know what to do with all the dirt, or they aren't sure how to set up the filtration, or how deep the shelves should be, or how wide, or how to get everything level. Keep in mind, this isn't something I do for a living. I'm just obsessed with ponds, and I've got a big yard that I keep adding more and more water features to. I'm not even sure how many I have anymore. All I know is I could always get just one more. Anyway, these are just some of the things that people have asked in the past and how I personally do them. G'day, my name is Kev. The aim of my channel is to help people build and maintain ponds without spending a fortune. If that sounds like something that interests you, you might like to subscribe and check out my website, ozponds.com. My personal preference for a pond is the ecosystem approach. I build my ponds with a liner, rocks, pebble, plants, and some fish. So if this is the type of pond style you want to recreate, keep watching. If not, don't worry, I won't be offended. Because I'm using rock and pebble, the shelves are really important. Here you can see the different shelf heights. This pond's only going to be 50 to 60 centimetres deep, and the shelves allow you to place the larger rocks on the vertical shelf face. Smaller pebble can be used on the horizontals to cover the liner, grow beneficial bacteria, and grow plants. The larger rocks peak up slightly above the next shelf so that they can hold the smaller pebbles in place. And you don't necessarily need to use just one large rock to cover the vertical face of the shelf. You can use multiple large rocks stacked on top of each other. Just make sure that they are stacked so that you can stand and jump on them without them moving. You might also like to create a depression for a water lily or two. Most water lilies are happy in 30 to 60 centimetres of water, although some don't mind it deeper. Some marginal plants like only their roots in the water, and some are happy to be fully submerged. Having the shelves allows you to be able to accommodate a diverse range of aquatic plants. Now, if you are interested, I do have a video on the types of plants I like to use in and around my ponds. I'll put a link to that in the description. That'll save me getting all carried away with the plants in this video. How deep each shelf should be really depends on the overall depth of the pond. I personally like to have 3 different depths in the pond. Because this pond is only about 60 centimetres deep, each shelf drops down about 20 centimetres. My big dream pond is 1.2 metres deep, and each shelf drops down 60 centimetres. And the shelves don't need to be uniform right around. You can see here under the window, I've dropped the shelf straight down 40 centimetres. The reason for this is to have more deeper water directly under the window. That's because I really want the fish to hang out here under the window. It's kind of the same as what I've done in my courtyard pond, beside that brick wall. That's where I like to sit and watch the fish. I hope that explanation makes sense. In terms of the width of the shelves, you can get creative. I tend to keep the width of the first shelf pretty narrow, as I don't really want a ton of shallow water. The second shelf, I'll mix it up. You can see it's quite wide in one spot and non-existent where I want lots of deep water. I guess the important thing is that the shelf is at least wide enough to support the rocks that you're going to be using. Next, let's talk levelling. The ground here is higher on the right side, and it also slopes away from where I'm standing. I knew I wanted the water level a few inches below where those existing pebbles are under the window, so I started by carving out the first shelf 20 centimetres lower than where I wanted water level. So first I dug the entire shape of the pond out at that level. Once the first shelf was all level, I dug out the next shelf, and then the third shelf. All the dirt I'm just mounding up and then redistributing around the pond and throughout the landscape. Over here on the backside, I'm mounding up quite a lot, as the natural lay of the land sloped away quite a bit. Once I set the final water level, I'll flatten out all the excess dirt and incorporate an overflow for the pond. This pond's going to have a long meandering stream, so some of the dirt I'm using to change the contour of the land. I want to direct the stream so I get the best viewing angles from inside the house. Right here I'm digging a big pit that is going to be a big bog filter. My original plan was to have a high flow filter feeding the stream, but like all good plans, I decided to change it as soon as I started digging. The water will still start up by the dream pond so that both look connected, but it will now bend right around to the right before entering the pond. This pit I'm digging in the middle of the stream is going to be the upflow bog filter I mentioned. Water will flow into a large drainage pipe and flow up through various sizes of rock and gravel. I'm sure I'll do an individual video of the filter construction when I start putting it all together. But by the time it's done, it will look like just part of the stream. Over on the left, I have an intake bay. This will house the pump, or pumps. I think I'm going to use at least 2 pumps on this now. Again, I've changed my mind. The water will be pumped from the intake bay into the bog filter and the start of the stream. And then gravity will just return it to the pond. The last thing I want to talk about is the stream. I'm using some of the excess dirt to create steps in the stream. This is so that I can create overlaps in the liner, rather than buying one continuous piece to cover the entire project. This is a terrible sketch to try and help explain what I mean. The liners are layered over each other like roof tiles. The steps change the water level in the stream so that the water from one level cannot escape anywhere but down to the next level. I like to allow a 15 centimetre or 6 inch grade change between steps. So the lower liner needs to extend up onto the step above, while the liner above extends onto the step below. I really hope that makes sense. And even with the steps and the overlap, I'll still be using 2 beads of Firestone sealant to seal the liners on the high side. This is because over time, leaves and foliage can create little dams in the stream, and the water in the lower pools may rise up higher than you anticipate. Anyway, I think that's all I wanted to cover in this video. If there's anything else you'd like to know, leave a comment and I'll try my best to answer it. If this has been somewhat helpful, I don't mind if you leave me a thumbs up. Thanks for watching. See ya.